This is nothing to do with that. This is just my own experience. So when I was 16 years old, down in the basement, things things always seem to happen down in the basement. I was there with my then girlfriend. I'm not going to mention her name, Leanne, and I tried to consummate, and I had a lot of bravado beforehand, acting as if I knew what I was doing. I had no idea what I was doing. Lubricants and getting a little help from her and all the things that require consummation. And so after a few seconds of utter and pure horror, I went flaccid. That means it gets small. And I just rolled over on my back thinking, oh my gosh, I'm gay. And this was in the 70s, and being cool, being gay or in the 70s wasn't cool for most people, and that's all the brainwashing that I had received. So for the next 6 months, 5 months, I thought I was gay, and eventually I guess I got used to it, or I didn't think about it. But then finally, I consummated heterosexually, and okay, I guess I'm straight. So that was the end of that. And a lot of times comedians try to use gay voices, and that's just too old school. But what I was going to do the same thing. I was going to come out and have two hats. One hat was going to be the red one. It's going to be to the side, and I was going to be a right proper farmer homosexual. That spin the wheel differently. And after I went to the famous Exodus Ministry School, I became Butch Doc gay. Nothing with leather. I ain't gonna ride nothing without leather. I ain't gonna ride no chaps. Bring them on. Bring a leather collar. I ain't gonna do nothing without leather. So I decided to do neither of those and just relate an experience that I think is utterly abhorrent. And if I'm worshiping the wrong God, forgive me. But I think it's utterly abhorrent that ministries, and I'll never forget Jimmy Dean Dobson's ministry, because there was nakedness. And they went to the most extreme 1/10 of 1/10 of 1/10 of 1% for a pride festival. And they showed extreme behavior for penises and breasts and leather and everything you could imagine they showed. And Jimmy Dean Dobson would come up to the microphone and said, "They're after your children. They's coming to get you. They's on a recruitment message. You can see by the angle of that fella's penis." So it swept through the evangelical. I don't even know if we call ourselves evangelical. I call them evangelicals now. I've come full circle, but it swept through as this incredible way to raise money. Get people scared shitless that homosexual men, gay women, transsexual, transgendered, bisexual are trying to convert their children. And if you don't want that to happen, here's the book you read. Thank you. You can use check, and remember it's tax deductible. Thank you. You can use a tape, and remember it's tax deductible. Thank you. You can use the text, and it's thank you. It's tax deductible. So they raised an incredible amount of money in the 80s. And then they were like, see what God did to them. See. Well, if God killed every unrighteous motherfucker out there, half the preachers would be dead to begin with. That's not the way it works in the kingdom. He loves you. Faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love. So, I didn't do either one of the sketches that I was planning on doing. But jump up to the recent argument about homosexual marriage. I guess Vermont just recently passed, New Hampshire, a couple other states. And now the argument is they are defiling holy marriage in a church by being homosexual and wanting civil rights. They will ruin your marriage. If you and your wife are going up to Sonic for a Slurpee and a McFry, they will ruin your trip to McDonald's. It's just this insane thing that somehow a gay person's behavior is going to affect an evangelical or even a Protestant of any kind, really. I couldn't remember the name of the extreme Protestants. Lord, what is it? Fundamentalists, thank you. Even a fundamentalist and would jump up and down to see that, because the money comes back now. Gay marriage, we got to fight, and we need money to fight. It all comes down to money. These people, so in the 70s and 80s, the fear first was conversion, and then AIDS was a horrible thing. Why not more attention from Protestant churches about AIDS? Or Catholic churches about AIDS? You know, it took ACT UP to lay down in the counters or lay down in the hallways. Why not more attention during that time? And you know what? They found a prevention for long-term life, short-term death. They found it. They fucking found it. Because of what? Because we paid attention to it. So, one hand, you got the promiscuity, and then AIDS came, which is serious. And then now you've got the ruination of marriage because they're gay. Just get your story straight. And when I think of real sinners, I mean real indulgences of the flesh, I mean real gluttonies. You got to remember, the Bible talks about food and feasts being important. And they don't do this because they're a bunch of lard asses. Nobody's overweight. You know, 1/10 of 1% is overweight. And I'm thinking, there's all this talk about food and Feast of the Tabernacle and the different feasts. I wish I knew them. The feast that Jesus was going to, Passover. Food is just an integral part, far more than sex ever would be some obscure verse in Leviticus, which is followed by a verse about handling pigs. So I guess there goes football. But I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, gluttony. Gluttony is just is far more prominent. And guess who's got a big, huge belly and never exercised a day in his life? He recently died. Now, did God kill him because of the indulgences of his flesh? Is that the way it works? If we indulge our flesh in gluttony, God will kill us too? You know, it makes no sense. You know, Pat Robertson makes no sense. Jimmy Dean Dobson, they kicked to the curb, and the guy down in Virginia is dead because of gluttony. He never exercised a day in his life. Obnoxious asshole, too. I remember him on Phil Donahue in the 70s and the 80s. So my point is simple. Whatever you believe, it's okay with you. I'm not saying it's okay for me. I'm saying it's okay for you, unless you're hurting yourself or hurting someone else. And when I thought I was gay, I am so glad that I didn't get beat up for it. I am so glad that my car windows didn't get smashed, that my car wasn't keyed. I wasn't punched in the face like a good friend of mine was, beat up repeatedly in 4 years, never threw a punch back. So, it's always love, faith, hope, and love, but it's always about love. And if you don't like it, pray for them. Isn't that the Bible that says, pray for your enemies? Thank you.